Let me just start by addressing those people who have negative things to say about Lauren Matthias's 9-hour live stream. Until you've had it happen to you, you have no idea how you would respond. Bring it home. What if it was you? What if it was your daughter, your sister, your friend? Once you've been the target of social or physical violence, that past experience reframes everything in your worldview, and you see everything through a completely different lens. None of us has the right to judge Lauren and Grayson for the way they've responded to this situation because not a single one of us knows exactly what they've gone through, even after a 9-hour video. Hello, beautiful humans. I'm Megan Connor, the host of the Midlife Revolution podcast. And today I want to comment on the video that Lauren Matthias of Hidden True Crime posted just a few days ago on October 15th, 4 days ago. So far, it has over 320,000 views, and it has garnered some backlash from lots of different people for lots of different reasons. And I want to address that. And I also want to address stalking in general. I want to address the problems that women face in society, especially as creators, putting ourselves out there in a public space. And the last thing that I'm going to talk about is something that you probably did not see coming. Because, in my opinion, the stalker is not actually the problem. I'll tell you who I think is the problem, and I'll go through the entire timeline as far as I can get. And I also want to make room for the fact that immediately after my live stream, Duty Ron is going to be going live with Lauren Matthias as his guest. So it is my goal to end well in advance of that because I have a great deal of respect for him, and because the entire reason that I'm doing this video is it's not only to support Lauren, but it is a big part of the reason why I'm doing this. The other part is to spread awareness, to help people understand this situation better, and to understand the dynamics that lend themselves to these types of situations. It's also to educate so that we as women don't end up getting inadvertently pulled into some kind of a social situation like this. I really want people to come away feeling like they learned something about group bullying, about cyberbullying, about stalking, and about how we can better support each other in the online space. I did not want to do this live, but I was having a lot of trouble with StreamYard, and I actually have recorded several times and then gone back and erased things. I did not want to mess this up. It was very important to me, and I wasn't happy with the way things looked after they were recorded because the audio wasn't syncing up, and I didn't have time to fix it. So that's the reason I decided to just go live. I would have felt a lot more comfortable just recording it and then editing it and putting it out there and being in the chat. I want to say thank you so much to all the mods who are here, and especially Kirsten, who's in the studio here with me, helping me to star comments. What I really want is, if you have a genuine question about something or unclear about something, if it can't be clarified in chat, then Kirsten will star it for me, and I'll try to address as many questions as I can at the end, again, with that time frame in mind. And I also just want to call for kindness and respect in the chat. It's okay for us to disagree. It's okay for people not to support Lauren. It's okay for people to disagree with the way she's handled things. It's okay for people to disagree with what I'm saying directly. All of that is okay. Healthy disagreement is 100% welcome on this channel. I don't ever plan to delete comments unless they are just blatantly hateful. Hate speech is never allowed on this channel, and I just always call for kind and respectful discourse. Again, it's okay for us to disagree as long as we do it with kindness and respect. So I am going to be playing just a couple of clips from this video, very short clips, because I want the focus to be on understanding the situation, understanding what went wrong, and understanding how we can change things for the better in the future. I apologize for not always looking directly at the camera. I do have extensive notes and narrative written, and on a topic like this where I feel so strongly about it and where it also affects me very personally, I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. So I am going to be reading some of my comments today, and I'm going to do my best to interact with the questions in the chat as much as I possibly can. Thanks to all of you who are members of the Midlife Revolution. And I also want to say that I created an entire e-course about how to identify and defend against manipulation and control. And a lot of what I teach in that e-course is a lot of what I'm going to be talking about tonight. Understanding the dynamics, understanding how to deal with these situations in a way that protects your peace and your sanity so that you don't end up having your lives run by bullies. The course is called Bully Proof, and it's available on my website at third-verse.com. I also want to give a disclaimer that Lauren and Grayson are friends of mine, and we have gotten to be close with each other over the years, good friends, but that does not sway my bias in this situation. I actually was there to witness many of these instances in real time as they took place, and I could tell by the reaction, both physical and verbal, and by the dynamics of everything, that this was an incredibly distressing and terrorizing situation for both Lauren and Grayson. And I just want to say that I don't necessarily agree with everything that they did in the way that they handled everything, but the bottom line is the statement that I made at the beginning. None of us knows exactly how we would handle it until we're confronted with it. And when it's right in front of your face, you can't escape it. And that's part of the issue about this, is that stalking comes to find you, bullying comes to find you. And even if you try to completely guard yourself and protect yourself, you're never going to be completely free of people who want to tear you down and criticize you. So with that said, yes, supporting my friends is important to me, but there's something that needs to be discussed in the broader conversation about what Lauren and Grayson and their families have been through. So first of all, I highly, highly recommend that you go and watch the entire 9-hour video. Yes, it's 9 hours long. Watch all 9 hours. It's uncomfortable. It's gut-wrenching. It's emotional. It's hard to watch, and it should be, because what happened in this case should make all of us deeply uncomfortable. In the video, Lauren walks us through the last several excruciating months of continuously escalating social violence that she and her hidden true crime family have been subjected to. But she starts with an emotional, raw video that Grayson took of her while she was in bed crying and expressing thoughts of self-harm. A lot of the pushback that I have seen online are people saying it wasn't that big of a deal, it shouldn't have affected her that much, there's no way that you should be considering self-harm just because of some bullying. And again, that's why I made the statement that I made at the very beginning. None of us knows exactly how we would react, because until you're actually in the situation, you have no idea how it's going to affect you. And past trauma has a way of just coming up for you in the moments when you least expect it, and in situations that are adjacent but not necessarily exactly the same. And when you do have violence in your past, it is impossible to completely erase it. And so I have to say for myself that when I stayed up all night to watch Lauren's video because I wanted to support her and be there for her, but it was hard for me because I've been through some similar situations, and I could feel it in my body as I was watching Lauren talk about what was happening to her. And I found most of the time that it was really hard for me to look at her while she was saying some of these things because of the feelings that were coming up for me from my past. So it's a situation where none of us, again, has a right to judge the reaction of someone else, because The important thing to remember about trauma is that two people can go through the exact same situation and it will affect them very, very differently. Some people will have a car accident, and if two people are in the car, one person will walk away with absolutely zero trauma, and the other person will walk away having a fear of stop signs or having a fear of left turns. It's just that trauma affects us all so very differently. And it has everything to do with our past experiences, as well as the people that we feel safe around in our lives. And I have so much compassion and understanding for the fact that Lauren and Grayson spend the majority of their work time traveling and away from home, away from their safe places, away from their safe people, and in scenarios where they're sitting in a courtroom day after day, listening to the details of horrific crimes. And that's really hard to get away from. Your body is already in fight or flight mode when you're listening to those kinds of details all the time. And then you add something on top of that, and it can really send you through the roof. So I just want us all to have a little bit of understanding and compassion about where some of this response came from. Lauren relates in her video that in the process of seeking a civil stalking injunction against her stalker, she learned that the judge in the matter had granted a request from Law and Crime to stream the proceedings and review all of the case filings and documents. Stalking hearings are normally private. It's considered to be in very poor taste to publicly cover these hearings because it further victimizes the petitioner by exposing all of their personal information, which includes location details, which puts the victim at an increased risk. Can you understand how upsetting and distressing it would be to have all of your personal information exposed to the Law and Crime Network? Those trials that they live stream all day, every day, that get hundreds of thousands of views. And it is somewhat of a sensational story that a true crime podcaster is seeking a stalking injunction. And there are dangerous people out there who see people in the public eye and want to take advantage of listening to their personal information. It's not just true crime family or true crime community that watch those proceedings. Also, criminals watch it. They also have access to all of that. In my opinion, that was not a good move by Law and Crime. And I do completely understand why Lauren would not want her son's mental health information put out there for fodder where she had no control over the narrative. And it was going to be exposed by Law and Crime anyway, so Lauren decided to do it herself on her own terms and on her own channel. She took the power away from her stalker and deflated the hopes of the Law and Crime Network to exploit her story, which, by the way, is one tiny example of how dog eat dog the world of true crime is. There's not even a professional courtesy for fellow creators, apparently. Everything's fair game. So to break this down into a very reductive capsule, Lauren, who is a journalist, for those of you who don't know anything about her or about this story at all, Lauren, who's a journalist, is married to a forensic psychologist, making them, in my opinion, the ultimate power couple for a true crime channel. They often say that they're not a whodunit channel, but a whydunit channel. They delve into the psychology behind crime and criminal behavior. Lauren often comments that she brings the tea and Dr. John reads the tea leaves. When I did my first interview on their channel in April of 2023, they had just over 100,000 subscribers. Now they have over 320,000, meaning they've tripled their sub base in just over 2.5 years. That kind of growth makes them a target for inferior channels and inferior creators with low self-worth to tear down, which in my opinion is exactly what happened. I will do a complete timeline at later in the video after I talk about a couple of important points, but for clarity's sake and just to give you a broad overview. A former fan of the channel banded together with a group of other women, some of whom are true crime followers, and at least 3 of whom worked for Lauren Matthias or with her during the 2023 to current time period. These women engaged in a campaign of social violence against Lauren because they see her as a threat. Why is she a threat? She's smart, successful, has a lovely family and a secure relationship, and she happens to be beautiful. These women are mean girls, pure and simple. They are women who tear down other women. And in this day and age, when women are already exposed to so much hate and vitriol and misogyny, especially as online creators, the last thing we need is women who add to the problem instead of supporting each other. Carl Jung says, everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Meaning, next time someone says or does something that sets you off, ask yourself, I wonder why that bothers me so much. It's likely that you see something in that person's behavior that reminds you of something you don't like about yourself. That kind of introspection is rare, but I think it's critical to us being able to coexist without situations like this escalating. Lauren is not the problem here. It's just that her expressing totally normal thoughts of frustration and or annoyance in private conversations triggered this stalker and these other women into doing everything and anything they can think of to tear her down because they can't stand someone successful like Lauren not liking every single thing about them. Can we please look past grievances and perceived slights and see each other as assets to the same community rather than enemies? After all, the rising tide of successful women lifts all of the boats of all of the women everywhere. I don't agree with Lauren about everything she says or does, but I also am not threatened by her success because I've done the work to heal my emotional wounds, and those are the kinds of wounds that create division between women. If you have a difficult relationship with your mother or other important women in your life, if the important women in your life were critical of you instead of supportive, you are logically going to display the same type of criticism, judgment, and shaming that was modeled for you, unless you learn how to relate better and to not see success as a pizza. If she gets 2 slices, that's less for me. Instead, can we look at the success of women as an endless ocean where success for one means success for all of us, and it's unlimited? As I've thought about Lauren's video, and I have thought about it a lot over the last several days, and the backlash that it's created, the backlash has been particularly hard for me because I also have a history of not being believed and of my concerns not being taken seriously. And I saw that happening in live streams of other creators trying to be critical of the way that Lauren handled things, and people coming out in droves in the chat to say that she's overreacting. We've talked all about that, so I don't want to rehash it again. But just to say the backlash is one of the main problems. There were 4 points that I wanted to talk about. And the fourth one, I think, is probably going to blow your mind because it won't be what you're expecting. The first one I've already addressed. That was, if you're not a girl's girl, why not? Life is hard enough. Let's help each other. So the second problem is the backlash. And that's where I want people to bring it home, like all the way home, bring it all the way home to you. What if it happened to you? What if somebody was confronting you in public? And what if somebody was telling you in public that they were going to expose all your private information, even if you've done nothing wrong. And this is where empathy comes in. Those of us who are very empathic people, when someone accuses us of something, instead of being defensive and swatting it away and saying, I didn't do anything wrong, those of us who are empathic immediately begin to think, what did I do? Or what did I say that could have been misconstrued or misunderstood? Lauren had Grayson go through 6 years of her messages, scouring them for anything that she possibly could have said or done that was taken out of context, that could have been exposed, because she cares deeply about the people in her life and she doesn't want to hurt people. That's why she did that. If she didn't care about people, she would have said, whatever, I don't care who sees my text messages. I don't care if they get hurt, whatever. And again, once you've had any kind of social or physical violence in your past, you're just going to see everything differently. And Lauren and Grayson both have said this has changed them. Experiencing this kind of social violence changes you. Until you've had somebody try to destroy your livelihood and your reputation with things that are basically manufactured lies, you don't understand how upsetting and triggering and traumatizing and terrorizing it can be. Especially here on the internet, where it's this false reality. Nobody talks face to face. It makes it really easy to sit back and judge someone for their response or fast forward through their video and come out with a snap judgment, because it's easier not to admit to ourselves that it could happen to any of us at any time. I guarantee you, if someone you know came to you in person and they were in tears telling you about how a situation like this is happening to them and how it's affecting them, your reaction would be very different than getting into a live stream that is an echo chamber where everybody agrees with you and adding on to the hate. By the way, YouTube as well is particularly insidious, because you get to choose your username and you get to choose your little avatar picture, which in most cases has nothing to do with what the person looks like. I have no idea who most of you are. I'm grateful for you. I'm glad you're here. But, I found this when I went to CrimeCon and people would stop me and thank me for my channel. I'd have to ask them, what's your YouTube username? Because I see the usernames in the chat over here, but I have no idea who they are in real life. I could have a chat full of, insane people and I would never know, except by what they say in the comments. And what we say in the comments is not a complete picture of who we really are or how healthy we really are in real life. It's easy for people to hide their true selves in this format, which is part of what makes it so scary to have people follow you here on YouTube in the chat where it's anonymous and I'm safe where I am right now. But when I go out to a trial or when I go out to CrimeCon or any place else that I'm going to be interacting with people who know me online, I have no idea who those people are. That's a really scary, scary thing. And yeah, we do it voluntarily. Lauren does it voluntarily because she's so freaking good at it. She's an excellent journalist. She does her job incredibly well, and so does Grayson. And so the people who are shaming by saying, well, you chose to put yourself out there, it's like saying to an accountant, well, you chose to be an accountant. It's not my fault you're bored all the time. It's what they're good at. It's their profession. It doesn't mean that they don't have problems. All of us have problems in our jobs and our work life. Just that being a YouTube creator in this overlap space where we're behind the screen and also out in public is incredibly dangerous. And as I said, I've had my own stalking situations to deal with, and it is incredibly scary what people can do with just words. When we make the decision to distance ourselves from the reality of the pain that someone is feeling, we're dehumanizing them. And when we choose to forget that we're humans too, and we forget to empathize with them and try to see things from their point of view, that kind of dehumanization is what causes violence to happen. And how anybody can watch a fellow human being clearly distraught and respond with derision and name calling and hatred is exactly that type of dehumanizing behavior. And it does lead to violence. The third point I want to talk about is how dangerous stalking behavior is. And for this, I'm going to turn to the expert, Dr. John Matthias. I'm going to play a clip from Lauren's video where she reads Dr. John's statement to the court. I'm not going to play the whole thing because it does contain mental health information that is both private and distressing. I just want to play the part where he talks about stalking in general. He gives his extensive and incredibly impressive qualifications. And then he had this to say about the stalker. I don't think I'm at the right timestamp, so give me a second, please.
As a clinical and forensic psychologist, my professional work has included evaluating individuals for the risk of recidivism, which means reoffense, and patterns of antisocial and harmful behavior. In my expert opinion, when an individual repeatedly violates a stalking injunction, it demonstrates not only a lack of respect for the authority of the court and the rule of law, but also clear antisocial traits that significantly increase the risk of harmful behavior in the future. For this reason, I am especially concerned for the safety of my wife, my family, and myself. These restraining order violations, combined with the escalating psychological harm we have endured, have led me to respectfully request that the court not only uphold, but strengthen the stalking injunction in this matter with the recommendation of a referral for criminal charges. There is no indication based upon past or current behaviors that the stalking and harassment will cease with or without the stalking injunction. I declare under penalty or perjury under the laws of the state of Utah that the foregoing is true and correct.
So I just want to clarify for those who are unsure that yes, the stalking injunction was granted. This hearing that Lauren is talking about, that was about to happen, that Law and Crime wanted to stream, was to make it was a civil stalking injunction to make it permanent. The judge granted the request for Law and Crime to stream and have access to the documents. So Lauren did have a restraining order against this stalker. And as I go through the timeline, you'll understand a little bit more of how it happened. I want to give you some statistics that I pulled from stalkingawareness.org. Stalking is a lot more common than people think. It happens to 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men. 69% of females and 80% of male victims of stalking are threatened with physical harm. And weapons are used in 1 in 5 cases. That's 20% of cases. Intimate partner stalkers are the most likely to threaten or harm their victims. 71% of threatened intimate partner victims are actually assaulted, compared to 33% for non-intimate cases. Stalking triples the risk of intimate partner homicide. Among victims of violent crimes, particularly intimate partner femicide, 76% of murdered women and 85% of attempted murder survivors were previously stalked by their assailant in the prior 12 months. And anyone who is a woman who has been in an abusive relationship can attest that the most dangerous time for a woman is when they are ending or leaving the relationship. And that doesn't just mean intimate partner relationships, it also means friendships and other types of relationships as well. When you are honest with someone about your concerns or your criticism, and the person reacts in a way that is out of proportion, disproportionate to, it's a disproportionate response to what you've been saying, that's a red flag. And almost all of this can be attributed to the inability of people to accept criticism without shame. We all know somebody who has sort of a victim complex, and it's never their fault. They're always blaming somebody else. And when somebody accurately pinpoints something that they're doing wrong or something they don't like about the person, that person has a disproportionate response to how it should be. Most of us can accept most kinds of criticism and have a normal, even-keeled reaction to it. For example, when I get stupid comments on my lives or my comment section here on YouTube that I should really have that growth removed from the side of my mouth. It's a beauty mark. It's a mole. I've had it my entire life. People who are ashamed, though, of that will have an adverse reaction to it. They will have a shame response, which results in everything from crying to yelling and screaming. Yelling and screaming is a disproportionate response to someone criticizing my physical appearance. And a lot of people, when they get told that a friendship is going to end or a relationship is going to end or a job is going to end, they take it personally and they internalize that, and it makes them feel all of the shameful things that they dislike about themselves. And again, that shame response is what triggers sometimes the yelling and the screaming and the lashing out that is disproportionate to criticism. Now, the final point is the one that I said you would never see coming. And I have no idea how people are going to react to what I'm going to say. But this doesn't come as a snap judgment. This comes as, number one, personally witnessing a lot of the dynamics in this situation, personally knowing some of the people in this situation, and also a lot of my study about how to deal with bullying behavior, because I was raised surrounded by narcissists. And so I'm used to it. I know how they operate. I have a hypervigilance for it. And when I see it, I can't unsee it. And so here's what I see in this situation. What I see is that the story doesn't start with the stalker. The story starts with Lindsay. I've met Lindsay. We've exchanged text messages before. We've been friendly when we've seen each other. She knows some very personal information about me, which, as far as I know, she has not shared up to this point, which I appreciate. But considering the dynamics of this case, I take in what I know about her behavior to inform my future interactions with her. And I'm very cautious around her because I don't believe her to be a safe or a healthy person. So, the timeline. In 2023 is when Lauren met Lindsay. Lindsay's a podcast producer, and she met her at the Lori Valadabel trial. She also met Janice, somebody she had kind of clashed with in Facebook groups online over Janice's sort of what Lauren considers bullying comments, making fun of family members. They've disagreed on some things. And Janice has sometimes filmed family members in vulnerable moments, which didn't sit well with Lauren. A year later, in 2024, Lauren meets another woman named Lori, not Lori Vallow, not Lori Hellis, but another Lori at the Chad Daybell trial. She also meets her stalker at this time. Now, the stalker's first name is Christina, and she has a TikTok channel, which is entirely dedicated to nothing but tearing down Lauren. Her tag is, or her channel name is Objection Your Honor, with honor spelled Honour, which is the British spelling. So I'm not really sure what that's about, but she is not at all shy about putting her face on the channel and telling her version of events. She paints herself as the victim. She paints this situation as Lauren harassing her and not vice versa. I've met her also, by the way, which is something that I may get into later if I have time. So the stalker, Christina, she was a fan of Hidden True Crime. And at this trial, she gifted Lauren with a microphone and a tripod. And at this time, the stalker also befriended Lori, Lindsay, and Janice. And so they sort of became a friend group. Right now, as far as I understand it, there is a text thread or a text group with these women that is called the Seven Gatherers, which I think is incredibly poor taste. I don't know if it's exactly 7 women or not, but to name yourself after a cult group that was responsible for the deaths of at least 4 people is disgusting to me. So in April of 2024, while the Chad Daybell trial was going on, there was a memorial for Tylee and JJ in Idaho Falls in the Rexburg area. And I went to the memorial, and then I went to the Chad's trial for a couple of days as well. And it was at that time that I met Lindsay. She and Lauren were staying at a hotel close to mine, and the day after the memorial service, a lot of us decided to go into Rexburg. I had never seen Chad's property, and there were some other things that I wanted to do and see there. So Lindsay was kind enough to drive us to the Daybell property. And she seemed nice. She seemed kind. And Lauren said, I trust her. So when something came up in conversation that was personal and private to me, I told Lauren I wasn't sure if I wanted to talk about it right then, but Lauren told me that she trusted Lindsay. And so we did talk about it. I shared some very private information that very few people on the planet know about because I trust Lauren. And I don't know if Lindsay even remembers this conversation or what it was about. But in my experience, people who are bullies or unhealthy tend to save information to use at the right time. So if she does choose to share it at some point, I will know how it got out, because I don't think any of the other people who know would ever tell anybody. So moving away now to back to Lauren's timeline. In May of 2024, a prominent podcaster asked Lauren for recommendations for a podcast producer, and Lauren recommended Lindsay. I'm not clear. I don't remember. I think, yeah, Lindsay started doing contract work for Lauren after this happened. So in June of 2024, that's when Christina the stalker started a group chat with herself, Lauren, Lindsay, and Lori, the other Lori. In July of 2024, Lindsay started doing contract work for Hidden True Crime. It was, more of a full-time situation. They were having daily meetings. But Lindsay was also working for this other podcast host, saying that she really thought that she could do both. Then in July of 2024, Lauren and Lindsay and the stalker were at the Alec Baldwin trial in Santa Fe, and they were all sharing an Airbnb. Lauren had Christina on one of her lunch lives. Now, she interviewed a bunch of people that day, but Christina was one of them. And later in a text conversation with a different contractor, the contractor suggested that Lauren not have her on anymore. And Lauren agreed, stating that she was the person, the stalker, that she was, quote, constantly anxious, loud, and worried. That night, the contractor, according to Lauren, quote, unexpectedly and angrily quit and ended their relationship for good. I'm not clear as to whether or not that contractor took the comments that Lauren made incorrectly, but I will also say that in the conversation that Lauren showed on her channel during her 9-hour live stream, it was clear that the contractor was the first one to offer a negative opinion of Christina. So I just want to put that out there. Then later in July, Lauren hired her stalker to do artwork for Hidden True Crime on Lindsay's suggestion. Then, during the Delphi trial in October, a group of friends and colleagues, including Lauren, Lindsay, and her stalker, were sharing an Airbnb. At one point, Lauren texted Lindsay and expressed to Lindsay that it's easier to work without the stalker around because she's kind of just a lot. Like, she's very kind, she's very generous, but it's just a lot. Like, I'm sure Lauren probably felt somewhat smothered. But then there was a day when Lauren wasn't able to get into the trial. You had to stand in line for a long time, and it was crowded. Seats were at a commodity essentially, and the trial was not being live streamed. So Grayson was able to get in that day, and Lauren asked Grayson to take notes for her, and Grayson did an excellent job. I can attest to the fact that Grayson is very detailed. She does her job very, very well. Sorry, I'm trying not to get distracted by chat, but every once in a while something catches my eye that I want to make sure I read. Then everyone went home for Halloween. I don't know if it was over the weekend. I'm assuming that's what it was. When they came back to Delphi, Lindsay suggested that Grayson, who has now been hired as a production assistant for Hidden True Crime, Lindsay suggested that Grayson go stay in a separate Airbnb. Lauren was not comfortable with that because Grayson was young, she was alone, she wanted Grayson to be with them. And it is my opinion, complete opinion, separate from anybody else's opinion, that when Lauren hired Grayson, it was a threat to Lindsay. I think Lindsay imagined herself and Lauren just being one-on-one. I think it made her incredibly uncomfortable to share Lauren with anybody. And I think that's why she asked Grayson to go stay somewhere else. Lauren suggested that Lindsay could get her own hotel if she needed more space, and this upset Lindsay. So basically, it was Lindsay and Lauren for a while. And then when Grayson comes in, Lindsay got jealous. And it was especially hurtful to her that not only is there this second person in here, but apparently Lauren prefers Grayson because she told me to go get a separate space rather than sending Grayson away. I think that was a narcissistic injury, in my opinion. Then the string of events that happens after this. Lindsay logged into Lauren's phone, logged into YouTube Studio on Lauren's phone without her permission to see what Hidden True Crime was making that month and shared that information with Grayson. Also at this time, Lauren was paying Lindsay's way to travel to this trial, paying for her food, paying for her lodging, paying all of her expenses. But Lindsay was also still working for this other podcaster. Not only that, but she was passing them material. Now, there's plenty of room in the true crime podcasting space for all of us, but we are each other's competitors to a certain degree. Like, I'm not fully true crime, but we all cover a lot of the same cases. And what makes our channels unique is our angle and our take. And if Lindsay was sharing that with this other podcaster, that's not okay. And that wasn't okay with Lauren. And it made her uncomfortable. So Lauren knew that this other podcaster that Lindsay was working for was going to be successful. And she wished Lindsay the best as she sent her away and said, I really need somebody that's just going to be exclusive to my channel. She made a business decision. She did a thing that was what was best for her and her business. And Lindsay, in my opinion, did not like that. She did not like being rejected. She did not like being sent away. She did not like having her toys taken away from her, her toys of manipulation and control, where she could take information from hidden true crime and share it with whomever she felt she wanted to. Information is power to bullies. They collect it and they disseminate it. After this, Lauren found out that Lindsay was telling professional contacts of Lauren that Lauren was manic and that she, quote, went psycho on her. Now, Lauren reads the termination letter on her channel for transparency, and it's very even-handed. It's complimentary. It's even congratulatory. There's nothing in that letter that could be construed as manic or psycho. And knowing Lauren and seeing her react to things in lots of different situations, under lots of different emotional situations, I can honestly say I've never seen her go psycho. I would not consider her manic. Again, I don't know everything in the world about Lauren. We're not besties, but we've spent some time together in each other's proximity in different situations. So a lot of times when somebody is injured or feels shame about the way somebody treats them, they will perceive what was done as way more reactive and volatile than it actually was. And they'll portray it to other people that way, because then that puts the other person on the defensive. Now, Lindsay's put a narrative out there that Lauren's manic and she's psycho. And it's up to Lauren to defend herself now. Come at me. Prove it. Prove that you didn't go psycho on me. Her reaching out to professional contacts is a classic manipulator move. So Lauren sent a cease and desist to Lindsay to ask her to stop sharing her private conversations, her text messages, screenshots with her professional contacts, because again, she's trying to protect her business. Then on April 9th of this year at Lori Valadabel 2.0 in Arizona, Christina the Stalker approached Lauren at the courthouse where video recording is not allowed. And Christina confronted Lauren about her text messages where Lauren called her annoying. She was crying. Lauren hugged her. She offered to talk about it, which Christina was not interested in. And Lauren apologized for calling her annoying. She said, I didn't know you that well at that time. And she wanted to have a conversation and make further apologies. But the stalker then proceeded to launch her campaign of collecting flying monkeys to find anyone and everyone who knows Lauren to gather information for her constant barrage of threats, attacking and mocking Lauren on her TikTok, and attempting to drive a wedge between Lauren and anyone who supports her, including other creators, other channels, and family members who are victims of horrific crimes. So this little group of women, which includes Lori, Janice, Christina, Lindsay, and apparently now Lori Hellis, who's an attorney and should seriously know better, they just start stirring each other up, essentially. And when you've got one manipulator at the center of that kind of a circle, all it takes is for that one manipulator to make a complaint about the common target. And that's really what group bullying dynamics are about. There's a common target. There's someone we can all agree that we hate. And so anytime someone says something negative about this person, we're all going to glom on with our own comments. And then we're going to all spin off in our separate directions, doing our separate things. So Lindsay stirring the pot in the middle, and they have this group text where they're talking with each other about what they don't like about Lauren. And Christina spins off and starts a TikTok. And Lori Hellis spins off and feels like she needs to comment on it on her YouTube channel. And these two other women, who we'll talk about in a second, spin off and confront Lauren and Grayson in public. Here's the thing that set off this line of thinking for me. Lauren texted Christina, the stalker, to ask her to stop sharing private conversations and talking about her private conversations. And Christina responded, "I'm not the one you need to worry about." So Lauren blocked her. They agreed not to contact each other. And then in April, there were some aggressive emails. There was a text that was taken out of context. Lauren says that top media believed that Lauren had smeared a fellow creator's business and created fake accounts to try and hurt this creator. Now, I do know people that do like to create fake accounts. I see them on my channel all the time. It's pretty easy to spot them by their, the narrative that they spin over and over and over. And that doesn't bother me. What bothers me is the idea that these women all got together and decided to unite over something that truly could have just been, that was shitty behavior. She treated me bad. I don't like her. Moving on. Next. Like, why the obsession? Then in June of this year, there was a statement from another person in this space saying that people wanted Lauren's head on a platter. Lauren called the police over that, which she should have done. That was the right thing to do. Now, most of us in most situations would hear somebody say something like that, and we would say, that's stupid. Like, literal head on a platter? Come on. That's just talk. But when you've already been in a situation where you've been subjected to a lot of bullying and social violence, your reputation is at stake, your business is at stake, a comment like that is concerning and worrying and distressing and disgusting. Also, at this time, the Brandon Boudreaux trial was going on, and that's when Lauren reported that she was being shunned by former friends, by family members. She didn't specify exactly, but I know exactly what she's talking about because I was there for some of that as well. Then in June is when Christina created her TikTok account. Her first post was a disgusting, gut-wrenching dig at Lauren shortly after the death of her beloved brother. It's a particularly low tactic. I think it's disgusting. I don't care what Lauren did. Nothing warrants that kind of an attack. Literally accusing her of assaulting her brother. I mean, it's just disgusting. I'm not going to repeat everything that was said. But that was disgusting. And as far as people saying that the shunning is not a big deal, I want to just take a moment to say that Lauren and Dr. John have been they were on the Lori Vallow case from the very beginning. It became personally important to Lauren to see it all the way through to the end and to get justice for the victims. And she became close with some of the family members, a lot of the family members, because of her care and compassion. And I've said this before, and I'll say it at the top of my lungs as often as I need to. Not all podcasters in the true crime space are kind to family members, especially if your family member is a perpetrator of the crime. And I can tell you that from the very beginning, Lauren and Dr. John treated me with kindness, with respect, with compassion. They were generous with their time. They are a big part of the reason why I decided to start my own channel. They gave me a voice to say some things that were really important to me. It was my very first long form interview. And I cannot say the same about all of the creators that I've interacted with over my time covering the Lori case. So I want to be very clear that, investing 6 years of your life into getting justice for victims in a case and becoming close with the family members where you're there with them, when they're unpacking after a hard day in court, when you're listening to them cry, when you care about their family members, when you listen to the stories of what they've lost in their lives, somebody who is empathic and who cares about those people is naturally going to be very, very hurt when those people suddenly stop talking to them for no reason and without any explanation. So. The rest of July was sort of a pepper of lots of different things. On the 12th, Christina posted clips of Lauren using her voice. Her other videos at that point were getting a few hundred views. This one got 30,000 views and compared Lauren to Jodi Arias. Then on July 14th, Lauren did a Mormon Stories podcast episode, which Lauren has issued this challenge, and I'll do the same. If you really want to know who Lauren is, if you really want to know her character, go listen to her Mormon Stories episode. It's a 2-part episode. She was very vulnerable. She got into a lot of details that are, just private details that she didn't have to share. She did it because she wanted other people in her same situation to feel heard and understood. And for many other reasons as well. But I can also tell you that I know personally, because I know John DeLynn as well. Lauren and I have appeared on his show with Mindy Caldwell a couple of times. It was planned out far in advance. John had been trying to get her to go on his show for a really long time. There was a lot of planning and preparation that went into that. And so there was not, it was not by any means some kind of a damage control thing, because again, at this point, Lauren is still asking herself over and over and over and over, what did I do? What did I do wrong? She has no idea what she's done. And those of you, again, like I said at the beginning, I'm always happy with respectful disagreement in the chat. But if you're here to just trash people, you don't need to be here. I mean, thanks for the engagement. I'm glad you're here, helping my numbers. But what's the point? Yeah, I do have moderators. I don't know how many of them are here. I'm not paying a lot of attention to chat because I'm trying to get through this quickly, because it's important to me to get done with this before Duty Wrong goes on. So respectful disagreement is fine. We don't have to agree on everything. But if you're just going to trash people without any, evidence or backup or anything like that, that's bullying, and I don't appreciate it. So at the end of July, Lauren and Larry and Kay Woodcock were celebrating together in Las Vegas, and this was just after Christina claimed that Kay has no contact with Lauren. There are a lot of red flags for me with some of the things Christina posted. And a lot of times she doesn't post the whole video. She clips out a part that is that aligns with her narrative and her what she wants to put out there. And claimed that Lauren was unhinged, but there's no evidence of that on the video. And I already covered this, but empaths, those of us who care about the people in our lives, we're paralyzed by unjust accusations because we actually care. And stalkers and bullies will use that against us. Anybody who wants to manipulate you is going to use your emotions against you. Thank you so much for all of your support, mods. And I know it's a tough job today, and I appreciate it. And Duty Ron, thank you so much for always so kindly supporting my channel. I'm looking very forward to watching Lauren on your channel as well. And I've said I'm trying to get this finished so that I can be done before yours goes up. And thanks to Kirsten here in the studio with me, starring some of your questions, which I'm hoping to get to as many of them as I can. Thank you, Emily. I appreciate that. And thanks to all of my my members, those of you who've become new members, and those of you who have been with me for a long time. I really appreciate the support of my members. So, and thanks, Eliza, No More BS, and Everyone Loves Angel Eyes as well. The other thing that came to mind, I don't think that I wrote down anywhere, is that criticism is different than attack. Duty Ron, I believe, starts in 43 minutes. I believe 9 Eastern, 8 Central, I think. I think I have that right. I hope I do. So again, yes, there's a difference between criticism and attack. Criticism would be, Lauren treated me terribly. I don't like the way that she fired me. Attack is going after her personal private information, sharing private conversations, taking things out of context to suit your narrative. And also, by the way, you know, most of us, if we have a grievance or complaint against a friend, an employer, anybody, we would go to a trusted friend or to our, primary partner, or we would go to, a colleague or somebody. We would talk about it. We would get out our emotions about it, and then we would move on. And if we can't move on, we would go to a therapist, because we would say, there is something telling me that this means more to me than just that instance, and unpacking it once didn't do it for me. I feel like I still need to talk about it. Go talk to a therapist about it, because that clearly means there's something, deep seated that needs to be investigated, not spewing about it in the public atmosphere and trying to collect other people to adopt your narrative and to also put it out there in the public sphere. So then on July 23rd, 2025, at the Koberger sentencing, there were only 2 rows of seats available, and Lindsay was sitting, I guess, on the end of the row, and there was not much space. So Lauren asked if she could sit next to Lindsay. I think she ended up not sitting next to Lindsay. But that same night, Lauren and Grayson were sitting at the outside section of a restaurant, and they were approached and accosted by Lori, the other Lori, and a girl named Sarah, while Janice was filming across the street. Now, Lauren called the police to ask them to escort her and Grayson, back to their vehicle because they didn't feel safe. Now, Lauren played the video on her channel of this interaction, and basically these 2 women were angry with Lauren for asking to sit next to Lindsay because Lauren had previously sent Lindsay a cease and desist. A cease and desist is like kind of a one-time thing. It's like, stop talking about this thing and you move on. It's not like a restraining order where it lasts forever. But these women were saying that Lauren never should have talked to Lindsay, much less asked to sit next to her because of this previous cease and desist order. Well, who do you think sent those two women to the restaurant? Do you think just on their own that they witnessed Lauren and Grayson asking Lindsay for a seat and just decided on their own to go find Lauren and Grayson? So those women apparently were already in the restaurant, but they were eating on the inside of the restaurant. Lauren and Grayson were on the outside of the restaurant. Lauren Grayson didn't even know these other women were there. But obviously, Janice was across the street filming. This is a group of mean girls who are going to do their bullying thing. And so they came up and started yelling at Lauren and Grayson about asking to sit next to their friend. So when I see a situation like that, I'm thinking, okay, how did this happen? Thank you so much, Catherine Armstrong. I appreciate you. I hope that I have not missed other super stickers and super chats. But if I have, I will just give a blanket thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it. So yeah, public courtroom. You know, this situation happens. Lauren asks for a seat. And Lindsay thinks to herself, how dare she even talk to me after she fired me and then sent me a cease and desist? So she goes to the group chat and she tells them what happened. And she stirs them all up about what she was angry about. And then she leaves them to do whatever it is that they're going to do. Did she tell them to go to the restaurant and harass Lauren and Grayson? Probably not. She didn't have to. The person who is in charge of the bullying group, all they have to do is complain about the mutual enemy. That way, they're never the one who's seen in public, accosting, harassing. In public, they pretend like nothing phases them. In public, they put on a face of indifference. And in the group chat, they stir everybody up and let them do what they will. And then their hands are clean. They don't ever need to get a restraining order against them because all they're doing is pulling the strings for puppets. Carolyn, thank you. Asking Lindsay if that seat was taken was very professional, yet the 7 gatherers screamed at Lauren in the courtroom. Not cool. So we're getting to almost done here. On July 25th, there was a hot mic moment outside the Brandon Boudreaux trial, the sentencing, at Lori's sentencing. There was a media tent set up, and Lauren and Grayson had been sitting on the ground. That's not really like entitled princess behavior, so that they could listen to the interviews of people who are coming up. And at a break in the action, an individual who'd been sitting in the courtroom next to Summer Shiflett came up to Lauren and Grayson and started describing how much Summer was willing to talk to her and answer questions. And Lauren and Grayson did not know that there was a hot mic or that there was a camera going. I saw a TikTok, just a snippet of it the other day, where somebody was questioning Lauren's behavior in this situation, saying that she looked shady because she was looking behind her to see if the cameras were rolling, and then said that she had empathy or compassion for Summer. I was actually standing pretty close to them when that happened, and I can attest to you that was not what Lauren was doing. She was being cognizant of the fact that, hey, there are cameras and microphones behind me. She was trying to have situational awareness, in my opinion. And, you know, she has said to me on more than one occasion, unprompted, that she has compassion for Summer. She does. She truly does. I've heard her talk about Summer. They used to talk on the phone. And then I guess Lauren did something Summer didn't like, and now they don't talk anymore, and Summer dislikes her greatly now. Which Lauren has also publicly said, I don't blame her for not liking me. There's no sort of mean girl energy that comes to me from Lauren, and I am allergic to it. I will tell you, I am allergic to it. If it happens anywhere in my presence, I'm out. And I get 0 of that from Lauren. Hang on one second, please. Thank you so much, Al Dente. I appreciate that. Okay, we're almost done, guys. I'm wrapping up, and then I'll be able to answer a few questions here. This is obviously, I'm passionate about this because, you know, mean girl behavior, it really disgusts me, and it leads to some really terrible things. So on August 6th, the stalker Christina published her TikTok about Dr. John, where she was incredibly, stunningly dumb and accused Dr. John of not having a doctorate in psychology because his degree is a PhD, which, by the way, stands for PH stands for philosophy, D stands for doctor. So when you get a PhD, you are a doctor of philosophy in whatever subject you studied. So if I went to go get a music doctorate, I would be a PhD in music. But this Christina, claimed that Dr. John was a doctor in philosophy and not in psychology. It was just ridiculously stupid. But again, it's an escalation because now this person is not only tearing down Lauren, now they're going after Dr. John. Guess who's next? The third person of their family, most likely. On August 13th, Christina contacted the police to see what stalking laws exist. And she published a TikTok about that. And the stalker, Christina, she has definitely called professional contacts to not work with Lauren. And Lauren has seen the backlash from that, where she has not been invited onto channels she previously was invited on. And without explanation, again, so it's not just that somebody posted mean TikToks about Lauren. It's that this group of women engaged in a continuously escalating campaign of social violence meant to target Lauren and to destroy her reputation, which would by extension destroy her business, and which would by extension destroy the life that she's built for herself right now. She would literally have to change her whole life to go do some kind of different career. Then on August 27th, 2025, finally, the stalking injunction was approved. So therefore, it should have been safe for Lauren to attend CrimeCon because this person wasn't allowed to be within 500 feet of her. But lo and behold, Christina did show up at CrimeCon and basically told the Aurora, Colorado officers that she was not going to adhere to the stalking injunction. Lauren shows the body cam footage of her receiving the service that the injunction was in effect and telling her to leave the proximity of Lauren, saying like, you can be in the hotel, you can be in the restaurant, you can be wherever you want to accept the CrimeCon convention, and you can't be within 500 feet of Lauren. Now, what a lot of people did not pick up on here is that Christina asked specifically, can I be in the bar? And the officers responded, as long as you're not within 500 feet of Lauren. Sure, fine. Where did Christina show up that night? In the bar. She telegraphed her, her future actions there. She showed up in the bar. I was there that night. I was with Lauren and Grayson in the bar that night. I saw the stalker, Christina. I met her, by the way, at the Charles Vallow trial in Arizona, or at the sentencing. I can't remember which now, to be honest with you. It's a little blurry for me. But Christina came into the bar. She pretended like she was very nonchalant about it. She pretended like it was no big deal. She was, taking pictures and, filming and all of that kind of stuff, pretending not to pay attention to Lauren and Grayson, but knowing full well they were, within 50 feet of each other, not 500 feet apart. So again, any of you who think that Lauren's blowing this out of proportion, her stalking injunction was approved, period. She had to prove to the judge that the behavior of this one individual person constituted stalking. And she did that. She proved it to a judge. So shut up. Okay? She proved it to a judge. The stalking injunction was approved. Christina was not allowed to be within 500 feet of Lauren. And she violated that stalking injunction, not just that night at the bar, but on several other occasions during the CrimeCon weekend. When you have gone to the trouble to get an injunction against a stalker and they violate it as if they just do not care, that is threatening, because they're sending you a message that I don't care what the law says. I don't care what the judge says. I don't care that there are security guards in this hotel, and I don't care about the police whom I've already spoken to. What are they going to do? Now, somebody with that kind of an attitude, you never know what they're going to do next. That's unpredictable behavior. It's lawlessness. It shows an ability to go beyond, to break the law, to get whatever they want. And you never know when that's going to turn violent. And it is scary. It's terrifying. So then on September 10th was when Lori Hellis published her video. And the stalking injunction includes a do not recruit clause, meaning that it is against the law for Christina to co-opt anyone onto her side. Now, I don't know how plausible it is that Lori Hellis just on her own decided to make a video in, support of the stalker basically and against Lauren. It would be really hard to prove unless you have text messages that Christina recruited Lori Hellis to do this for her. But we know that she was around this group of mean girls and had been for a really long time. So I just want to say that, this is the part where I talk about, hey, if somebody is complaining to you about an individual and it seems a little more than just complaining, if it seems like there's some hatred involved, especially if they say something about a mutual friend or acquaintance or coworker or whatever, if they say something that seems out of character with your experience, maybe don't just believe everything that they say, even if they've never lied to you before. For example, now none of these people did contact me at all, but if somebody had contacted me and said something negative about Lauren, the same narrative that's been going around that she said mean things about me, I would say, that's interesting. That doesn't track with my experiences with Lauren. If they showed me text messages with Lauren saying something mean about me, I would be like, that's really weird. I wonder what was going on. And I would pick up the phone and I would call my friend and I would say, hey, I saw this text message. What's going on? Is everything okay? Did I do something? You have a conversation directly with the person rather than just co-opting this other narrative and adopting it as your own. Please don't allow bullies to pull you into their drama. It can be a little enticing and exciting to think when you have a mutual enemy. It can be kind of enticing when you have a public figure who's got a public platform, to think that you might have some dirt on them. That's human nature. All of us kind of get a little rush of energy when we think that might be the case. Oh no, it's a scandal. And so it's tempting. I get it. It's tempting to want to buy into that. It's tempting in the worst parts of our human nature to want to participate in it. But part of what I wanted to talk about here is the idea that people can unwittingly get pulled into this kind of drama and they can become part of the problem without even realizing it. Because think about all of the people on the periphery of this who had no idea this was going on, but who didn't communicate directly with Lauren when they heard something negative about her. First of all, that's kind of hurtful to the friendship, the relationship, whatever it is. I'm always a fan of direct communication. I want to talk to someone, not about them. And I always appreciate it when people do that with me. So I just want to say be careful that you're not unwittingly participating in somebody else's campaign of social violence without really realizing it. I've seen this happen so many times where a hurt person is trying to collect followers who agree with them because that makes them feel better about everything that's going on. It's hard not to want to belong, but a group like that is definitely not a place that you want to end up, because you don't want to get dragged into court cases and all of that stuff. So I just have two little points in closing here. This is going to be a recurring narrative here on my channel. I want people to do more of bringing it home. Think about the situation if it was in your house. Think about the situation if it was your people. I see a lot of things happening out there that I think are horrible, unhealthy, wrong, bad, terrible. And I think that a lot of people would not act that way if they thought about what it would be like if it was them or someone they loved and cared about. We can only develop empathy for other people if we really bring it home close enough where we can put ourselves in someone else's position and consider what it would be like if that same thing happened to us. How would we want to be treated? What would we hope the outcome would be? And the last point I want to make is, do you know why I start all my videos by greeting you guys as beautiful people, beautiful humans? Beautiful humans is what I like to say. It's an acknowledgement, first of all, that all of us are part of the human family. I believe that we are all connected, and I believe that we are more alike than we are different. We're also messy. We're imperfect. And, you know, calling people humans is an acknowledgement of that fact, that we're messy and we're imperfect. Those of us who really care about the people that we shared the world with recognize that about each other and give each other some grace for that we all make mistakes. One of my favorite sayings that I picked up in a therapist's office actually is that life doesn't have to be perfect to be beautiful. And I feel the same way about human beings. The people in my life don't have to be perfect for me to love them. They don't have to be perfect for me to care about them. They don't have to be perfect for me to be invested in their success and their happiness. We all, make mistakes. We all do stupid things. We all say things we don't mean. I mean, who among us would want our private text messages and emails to be read out loud on a live stream for people to hear? None of us probably would. We've all done things that we're ashamed of. So I guess my point is that Lauren's not perfect. I'm not perfect. None of us are. Part of what makes us beautiful is when we can admit that we've done something wrong and apologize for it, which is what I saw Lauren do over and over and over and over and over and over in this situation. She made apologies she never had to make because that's how she functions. If she's hurt someone, she wants to apologize. And that tells me all I need to know about her character, really, because people who will not admit their own mistakes and their own faults and shortcomings, those are the dangerous people. Those are the ones, frankly, who think they're better than the rest of us. And those are not the people that I want in my life. So I want to say thank you so much to, again, my mods and everybody who has supported me. Thank you, One Big Doodle. Appreciate you. Thank you, Web Sleuths. Thanks for your support all the time. Susie Catherine, thank you so much. Anti-mean girl. And then I want to get to a couple of these comments because I think some of them are very important to address. Tato Not Tudo says, I've been feeling so bad about this situation and there's nothing I can do to help. When I meditate, I remember to focus on the Matthias family and Grayson for spiritual support. And actually, there is something you can do to help. And that's a common question that I've gotten is like, what can we do? I think the best way that we can help in this situation is to take in this information, to take this situation and to learn from it, and to take it forward into our lives with the way that we interact with our fellow human beings in the future. I think that's the best thing that all of us can do. Kathy White asks, so anyone not agreeing with Lauren will have their comments deleted? I certainly hope not. I've instructed my mods that I appreciate respectful disagreement. I appreciate pushback because I know I'm not right about everything. And also a lot of this is my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. So that's how I've instructed my mods. Sometimes people's comments get banned because YouTube has an algorithm. If they believe that it contains harmful words or messages, they will kick it out. And also, I don't allow links to be posted in my chat or comments. So there's that. I also do have some hate speech words that are blocked on my channel. So hopefully it was none of those situations. Jana Lynn, how could they stream a civil case without Lauren's permission? Seems so wrong. Well, it should be, but it's not. And also, Law and Crime has a lot of pull in a lot of places. And, it might have just taken a phone call for them to get that approved. So it does seem wrong. I don't think it should be allowed that a civil case should be live streamed. I also don't believe that stalking cases should be public information, but, there's not a law against it. Unfortunately, it's up to the judge's discretion as to whether or not they'll allow the cameras to be in their courtroom. Yeah, so Brad Dunn, thank you for asking that. And I hope that I gave some helpful things of ways that people can help. Twilla, prayers for Lauren and her family. Also, Grayson, I don't understand grown people who are bullies and mothers who know what can happen to children who are bullied go through. That scares me. I agree. I'm sad for Christina's children, to be frank with you. She's modeling some behavior for them that is frankly very harmful. No More BS says, we can't control what others do. I'm sure Lauren was terrified. Stalking is horrible. Yep, flying monkey moves. Justine says, I don't understand why Lauren is angry with the news channel wanting to cover her case. Isn't her livelihood based on covering court cases? Yes, true, right. But a stalking case is a little bit different. And again, it's considered poor taste in the industry to cover stalking cases because the specific crime is that the person is being threatened and harassed at their home or their workplace, etc. And again, these trials, CrimeCon, that's Lauren's workplace because that's where she makes her living. So I think she was angry about them covering it because it's not a typical crime that is covered. It's not something that most news outlets will cover for ethical concerns. So that was part of that. Lynn Brown says, it's not always easy to get a restraining order. That's true. She has to have had to give and show good reason for one to be granted. Exactly. She showed a lot of evidence and that was what she did in her 9-hour live was she presented all of the evidence that she gave to the court. In order to get the first restraining order, they were trying to make it permanent. And she ended up withdrawing, I believe, from that. Lynn also says, Colby did a live a few days ago stating that these women have been problem makers for some time. They stepped it up this time around. They are escalating, which is concerning. Exactly. Started out small and grew. SP Mama 444, most people don't want to be direct. They aren't emotionally mature enough to know how. And I agree with you. That's true. One of the things that I've talked about in my healing series on my podcast is learning to accept criticism without shame and learning to give criticism without judgment. So, me saying that I would have handled things differently than Lauren did is not a judgment of her. It's a comment. It's a commentary on her actions, but it doesn't mean that I think less of her or that I judge her for it. And hopefully, if she heard that, she would receive it without feeling ashamed for what she did. I think a lot of this is about us dealing with our own shame, because if you can't hear criticism without having a very strong emotional reaction, that's a signal that there is something that needs to be worked on in your psyche with your therapist. It's so important. Under your scars, what if they were men? This is a great question. I'm not sure what angle you're coming at this with. I wish that you had expanded just a little bit, but I'll just say, men are more prone to commit physical violence. Women are more prone to commit social violence. And not that there aren't men that do this, because they do. But unfortunately, when men do this type of thing, it's usually seen as a bold move, as something strong, rather than as bullying. However, it's just as bad and just as terrible and just as wrong, and should never be that way. But in my experience with both men and women, I don't see many men operating this way. I see more women operating this way. But again, if it was men, we should be very concerned about it. In fact, we should be probably more concerned, because violating a stalking order, again, men are more prone to escalate it to physical violence. And that's what scares me about that. I hope I answered your question. If I didn't, or if I got it wrong, what angle I was trying to look at it from, I'd appreciate an email. You can always email me at askmegan with 2 E's @gmail.com. On my way to 808, when someone starts gossiping to me about other people, they 100%, they are talking about you to other people. Exactly. Keep these people at a distance. Yeah, you can be 100% certain that if someone comes to you with gossipy, negative comments about somebody, they're going to do the same to you. They're going to say negative things about you to other people. And when people come to me with gossip, I typically will say, I don't really have the space to hear that right now, because that's about me. It's about my emotional bandwidth. It's not a judgment of them gossiping. I just say, I don't have space for that right now. I'm so sorry. Can we talk about something else? That's usually how I try to shut that down. Charnel Burton, Christina needs to be aware that her violations of the order are crimes regardless of the fact that it was subsequently voluntarily dismissed. It was in effect at the time. That's a crime. Exactly. 100%. Sonia Luciano says we have the right to sometimes speak bad with friends about other friends, but it's not okay to use private conversations in public. Exactly. We all have the right to vent. We all have the right to be upset about the way we were treated, or the way somebody handled something, or whatever. We have that right. We even have the right to text about it, vent about it, post about it if you really want to. But, it should end there, in my opinion. Maya says, I don't even trust anyone who says they never have said anything bad about anyone over text. I'll just say it. I don't believe you if you say that. Exactly. I've never said, I have said bad things about people over text. I have complained about friends, family members, all kinds of things over text. I wouldn't want my personal text released, but that's part of it. It's supposed to be private conversations between people. I prefer to have those kinds of conversations in public, or face-to-face, because I don't like to put things like that in writing. Because number one, text conversations can be wildly misconstrued. Tone, intention, all of that. And I've cautioned my children, and I try to use this rule for myself. If there's something that's going to materially affect the relationship, I don't say it in text. I wait until we can talk on the phone, or better yet, in person. So, I try to stay away from that as much as possible. D. Haskins, and if Kay and Lauren had a falling out, it's their business, not ours. Thank you. Thank you. It is nobody's business but the people who are in the relationship. It's not for the outside public to comment on. Lynn Bowen, thank you for that super sticker or super chat. Appreciate you. Appreciate Kate and Kate Megan. Aloha and mahalo halo from Kauai. Oh, thank you. Looks like you're a kayaker, and I love kayaking. Hawkeyes, thank you for your super chat. Stephanie, thank you for your super sticker. McSpunky, always good to see you. Thank you. Liz says it's like live streaming a custody case. We don't do that. It's personal life details that are current, and it involves children. Can I please just say that louder? That's the real reason Lauren was upset, is because her child's information was going to be out there in the public. Shenanigans. Do y'all think Lauren gave Christina too much power? No one really knew who she was until Lauren did the YouTube live. I mean, some people knew, like some of us who have been around Lauren knew who she was. I have to think back, you know, like there are many things, again, that I would have done differently. But the bottom line is, I thought that Lauren really took her power back from Christina by doing that live and by making all the information public. And that's why I'm not afraid to use her name. I'm not afraid to say the names of the other women involved. Not a safe person, not safe people. That group of women, not safe people. And I don't have a problem saying that publicly. Bossy Texas chick, I think Lauren felt particularly ambushed by this when her colleagues started shunning her. That had to be excruciatingly painful. Yes, and I can attest to it. You know, I felt shunned by my family when I went to the Arizona trials, and it's painful. It sucks. But here's my mantra. It is a privilege to be rejected by dysfunctional people, because it means that they don't value who I am or what I am. Thanks for being a new member, Susie Catherine. And thank you, Nate Hansen, for the super sticker. Maya says, what anyone says about me to anyone else in a private text or private conversation is none of my business. I agree. But I would be hurt if I found out about it, so I get why people would be mad. Yep. Laura O'Connor says, these ladies are scary, and Lauren and Grayson have every right to be scared. They're brave for doing what they've done, and Megan, you're so right. This should be uncomfortable for everyone. Thank you. Thanks so much for everyone who has been here and adding to the conversation. I agree. Let them theory is amazing. Moonlight View, what's passive aggressive? I don't disagree with you necessarily, but I would love to know what you thought was. I just can't see it live real time. So, yeah, and just to put a cherry on top of it, yes, Christina, the stalker, is LDS. I don't know if Lindsay is or not. And I didn't want to specifically say the podcast that Lindsay works for, because I have, you know, some professional courtesy for my fellow podcasters, but I would be warned. I would be careful around her. I don't think she's a safe person. And I think that she has behaved well in this situation. I think, in fact, that she has stirred up a lot of it. So again, to those of you who are new to the channel or who are here for the first time, welcome. I'm glad you're here. My channel is I think, delightfully eclectic place. I do a lot of anything that's at the intersection of narcissism, true crime, high demand religion. Most of my Mormon stuff has moved over to Ex-Mormon Snark, the new channel that I started with Kirsten. Please be kind and go over and subscribe if you like Ex-Mormon Snark. We do a live every Monday night, and it's super fun. So I hope that you'll come back and join me for more true crime reporting. I do live stream trials. I do I'm very passionate about talking about coercive control dynamics. And so there's going to be a lot of that interwoven with the crimes that I cover. Obviously, they're at the intersection of those things because it's very similar to my family's case, enmeshed family systems, unhealthy family dynamics. So I hope that you'll come back and join us for that. Oakhaven Days says, props to both Lauren and Grayson for being brave enough to share. They had to know how backlash would happen and went ahead with the live anyway. That's proof they knew doing so was the only way. I agree with you. I think it was very brave, and I think they did know there was going to be backlash. Do you think the 9 hours is over the top? I honestly don't. You know, it was sort of a function of trying to get through all of it, having things come up in the moment, and then also talking about um, all of the, you know, all of the feelings and emotions that come up that you're not really expecting to deal with. Um, and so you know, did she plan on it being a 9 hour? No, absolutely not. She planned on sharing all of the court documents and her experience and opinions. And so, yeah, 9 hours is a really long live. But she said what she needed to say. And I think she took the space that she needed to take. And that's what I champion and support. Good question. Sammy Cameron, could this be connected to Chad and Lori followers? It's definitely possible. Like if they called themselves the Seven Gatherers and they were perfectly willing to do that, not realizing how stunningly horrible that is, could be that they have somewhat of an affinity for Chad and Lori. I don't know. Monty D, I do singing over on my Patreon at the Midlife Revolution. Feel free to join. Kay, good to see you. Just logged on, this popped up. Maybe I missed something, but what does me and Lauren's relationship have to do with anything she's dealing with now? Well, Kay, some people were saying that, well, it was the stalker who actually brought it up on her TikTok channel and said, do you think it's weird that Kay and Larry don't have any contact with Lauren now? She was making a speculation, and it happened to be the week before you joined Lauren in Las Vegas. So it was purely speculation, didn't have anything to do with anything. It was just a mean girl bully trying to sow division between, you know, Lauren and anybody else who was supporting her. And so you're right, it has nothing to do with anything, never should have been brought into it for any reason, but it was part of the narrative that the stalker adopted to try and bully Lauren. That's all. She was using it. She was using it for her own purposes. Hey guys, here in the chat, here in the chat is the link to Duty Ron's live. It starts in 4 minutes. Love you guys so much. Thank you so much for being here and for everything that you do to support me and my channel. Love you guys, and I'll see you soon. Above all, please just be kind to each other. Okay, thank you.